So they kind of stuck to their plan. So they had a shopping list. There's no doubt about it. They wanted defensive backs. They wanted corners. They got a couple of corners. They wanted a safety. They got a safety. They wanted a couple of linebackers. They got a couple of linebackers. And they got a young offensive lineman, in the 6th round. And they got a kicker, which was probably, considering things, if you take a step back, you go, wow, that's interesting. Well, it becomes very interesting because he's a 5th-round draft choice. So, I mean, that's a high price for a kicker in the NFL, because a lot of teams will just go the free agent route, bring kickers in, and they come in and they have a kickoff and they try it out and see if they get a guy that can be very consistent for them. But the Browns are kind of putting their chips on this kid and saying to Greg Joseph, if you're going to win the job, you're going to have to beat out this kid who's a 5th-round draft choice
who we're
by us.
In.
Yeah.
So. I mean, and you said before the draft, I think we talked on Thursday night into Friday that, look, when you thought about the weekend, John Dorsey likes 5th-round picks, 4th, 5th-round picks, those mid-round picks. They had one point before they made the trade on Friday to move up and get Greedy Williams. They had 3 5th-rounders. So they covet these types of players. They got Jannard Avery in the 5th round last year.
Right.
So, it's not like it's a throwaway. When you draft somebody in the 5th round, you think, this is a guy that should make the team and be able to help us to some degree or another.
Yeah. The guy, one of the guys they got in the 5th round, they got the kicker. He came later in the 5th round. They traded one of the 5th-round picks. But to get the linebacker from Alabama, Mack Wilson, in the 5th round that was pretty surprising, because that Alabama defense was good. He was the middle linebacker in that defense. He's a great coverage linebacker. I don't know how he fell through the cracks, but they're very excited about being able to get him, especially when they got him in the 5th round. So maybe the magic that was Jannard Avery and getting him in the 5th round last year, maybe that will happen again now with Mack Wilson in the 5th round this year.
Yeah, I would recommend and this has never been a problem with these two guys, but if you're Christian Kirksey and you're Joe Schobert and Avery, I'd show up to camp in shape, because the Browns went out and they got Taki and then they got Wilson to come in and really fill out the depth. But, it's you never know. Somebody could come in and win a job in camp. So
yeah, I think, these 2 young linebackers that are coming in, Sione Taki from BYU, he was their 3rd-round selection, and they were really happy to get him.
Yeah.
Alonzo Highsmith and Elliott Wolf seemed to be the prime guys that were first on him when they were watching BYU play, and really were excited by him, and that continued, and it continued more and more at the Senior Bowl, and it continued at the Combine, it continued at his pro day. What they did, Dino, was they got faster, but they got more physical, they think, at linebacker. I think they felt that they were a little slow at linebacker, and that they were a little bit too reactive at times. They weren't in the play. They were reacting to the play, and that was a problem for them last year in a couple of games. Even when they were winning, it was kind of disguised at the end of the year, the flaw in their defense, because they started to score a lot more points.
Right.
They were really clicking offensively.
The fact that they identified right away that, look, they had to get better in the secondary. They needed to, go out and find a cornerback who could play on the other side of Denzel Ward, who offers a different kind of skill set. And it's, Ward is such a tremendous athlete and is fast. I remember you came back from training camp, even from mini camp, saying, I've never seen an athlete at corner like this that the Browns have had. Having said that, Greedy Williams brings a different kind of, size and height to the position. But I think, his enthusiasm that first night, Friday night, after the Browns drafted him, was contagious. And I think it's like, wow, he really brings with him this air of success coming from LSU, and I think that's great.
LSU puts out great defensive players, I think. Now, they have a lot of talent just overall in the roster. LSU's problem has always been, quarterback. They really have never been able to get a quarterback that can really make the plays and allow these great athletes that they have, like Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette and these kind of guys that they've had. You look at most NFL rosters, there's an LSU guy, if not more than one, on a lot of rosters in the NFL. So, Greedy Williams, if you can play cornerback at LSU, you're a heck of a player. Now, you know, there is a criticism of him, and it's how he played last year. It's not how he played the year before, but how he carried himself last year. People thought that he kind of played like he was protecting himself all year to not be hurt come crunch time. And crunch time to a guy that's going to make himself available to the draft is combine, pro day, things like that. And they felt that he turned down tackles because he didn't want to get hurt. But as far as coverage was concerned, I mean, he was superb. He's fluid, he's real smooth, he's very fast. I don't know if he's Denzel Ward fast, but he's pretty close. And now you have a real nice set of young cornerbacks that are going to grow up together on this defense. And it takes a lot of problems off the table.
And you have depth. I mean, that's the other thing. You still have Mitchell. You still have Carey. You have options. You know, if you need to play different coverages, you've got different players who can be plugged in. Or if you have injuries. And I know the Browns were kind of sensitive. And I get it when they were asked about Ward, the fact that he did get hurt a couple of times last year, and did the Williams injury, was that a part of the thought process? But I mean, it's almost like baseball with pitchers. You can't have enough pitching. You can't have enough guys in your secondary.
That's right, and it happened to them last year. I mean, it wasn't just Ward, but every other defensive back that they had seemed to be hurt at one point of the season, and sometimes for a number of weeks. I don't think Greedy Williams is going to get this handed to him right away just because he's their first pick, even though a second-round pick, because they really like Terrence Mitchell. They really like Terrence Mitchell, and they call him Money Mitchell. And they thought that Mitchell really did a great job for them last year. So he's the incumbent, and Greedy Williams will have to earn his spot in the lineup. It's going to come at some point, but I don't think it's just going to be gift wrap for him.
The Browns did not draft a running back. I mean, they stockpiled defensive players. I think they had one offensive guard, right? I think that was the only offensive.
He's a tackle, but he's projected probably. His name is Drew Forbes from Southeast Missouri State. He's a big left tackle in college, but he's the kind of guy that he could move around a great deal.
Which they like that kind of player anyway. They didn't draft a running back, and in these post-draft interviews that they've done on the radio this week, both John Dorsey and Freddie Kitchens are adamant how much they like Duke Johnson. They want to keep Duke Johnson as part of this football team. And, again, we won't know until mandatory minicamp later this month and everything, but maybe the Browns will be status quo running back and have Johnson as part of the flow this year. Who knows?
Well, we haven't heard from Duke Johnson himself. I mean, we've heard, according to reports, that his representatives have told the Browns that he would like to be traded. Duke reads the writing on the wall. Kareem Hunt is here, and at some point, 9-10 weeks into the season, maybe 9 on an optimistic note, he would become eligible, and he'll be on the playing field. And he packs a lot of punch. I mean, he packs a lot of talent into that tiny frame. I think Duke looks at that and says, well, listen, once that guy comes out on the field, I'm even going to have a lesser role in the offense. Because right now, he would have the same role that he had last year, right now. But remember now, I mean, halfway through the season, Kareem Hunt's going to be eligible to come onto the roster and be a big part of the offense, and I think they're planning on that. So I think in Duke's mind, he would like to get traded now. Now, I haven't heard that from him. He'd like to get traded now so he's with a team right from the outset. Okay, he learns their offense. He goes through camp with them. Because you could also say, well, they could trade Duke Johnson at the trading deadline and get by a couple of weeks that they would need to get to Kareem Hunt, and then, then it takes care of itself. But for a player, that's tough to go in mid-season.
Learn a new system.
Especially on offense, I think. It's very, very difficult to do that on offense. Learn the nuances of a new offense midstream and try and become a contributing player. I think that's the scenario. It will be interesting. The mandatory minicamp will tell us a lot because if Duke is not there, he faces fine. If he does show up, I think we'll finally get the opportunity to hear it from him. Hey, I want to stay, or I want to be traded.
Yeah, hey, I'd like to be traded. The last couple of days, Tampa Bay has emerged as a possible trade target. Potential deals have been talked about. Gerald McCoy has been the name that's been popping up, and I think you said tonight on Channel 3 News at 6, because of his age, I mean, the Browns always would like to have extra defensive linemen. I think they, again, you can't have too much depth, but he doesn't necessarily fit the profile of a guy they would go trade for in terms of age and things like that.
Well, the age is the big thing. He's 31.
Yeah.
Great player a few years ago.
Yeah.
He had a very, very bad, I think it was a knee a couple of years ago, and he went out very early in the season, and he lost, a season that year. He got a big contract, and he deserved it when he got it, but it's pretty high right now. I think it's $13 million coming in this year for a 31-year-old player who I don't think could start for them right now.
I don't either.
That's how good they are. And at $13 million, I mean, he is supposed to be a great locker room presence, and would be, that's a lot to pay for a mentor.
Yes.
To Larry Ogunjobi or some of the other young
Sheldon
players.
Richardson,
And I think, they have a guy in Olivier Vernon, Sheldon Richardson, that they are here now. And it just doesn't add up to me, Dino, that you take on that amount of salary and that age for that player who right now I don't think would start.
No, I don't.
He would be a situational rotation defensive lineman.
It's one thing if you had an injury there, if you had an opening there, and you could get the Buccaneers to eat some of that salary. Well, then that's different. I mean,
well,
whatever,
let me throw this scenario at you. You could wait it out if you were really, looking at him and you had eyes for Gerald McCoy. You could wait it out because it sounds like they are going to be forced to cut him. And then you get him however you can negotiate with him, and then you're not going to pay him anywhere near $13 million bucks. I mean, you're probably not going to pay him the minimum, but you're not going to pay him $13 million bucks. And maybe you could do it that way.
Yeah. Then you could get the locker room presence and the fill-in guy, and not be out from under huge salary cap. So. But I thought, it wasn't a sexy, exciting weekend, Jimmy. But we've seen, how many times have we seen NFL drafts for the Cleveland Browns in the past where you have obvious needs going into a draft and players from big schools sitting right there, and the Browns always would get cute. I always think of a guy like Sean Thompson.
West Texas A&M. His team, when the Browns drafted him second round, very high in the second round. He was scouted by Dave Campo at the time. Dave Campo drove down to where West Texas A&M was. And Dave was a funny guy.
Yes.
Okay, a real character when he coached the Cowboys. But he was here with Butch Davis, and he said, man, when I was driving down there was tumbleweed going by my car when he went to scout Sean Thompson. His team was winless the year he was coming out, and they gave up an average of over 38 points a game, and the Browns took him. Now, he was a great kid, and he was okay. I mean, he really was. He had a lot to learn. His learning curve was very, very slanted. He was an exceptional special teams player, but he was a second-round draft
choice. He's a second-round guy.
For the Cleveland Browns at the time, and, that was a wild one. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah,
there.
it's like you sit there and you go, okay, is that a kid that probably would have been there 4th round, 5th round? Yeah, probably. I mean, possibly. I mean, but I always thought that the Browns would do that. They would reach for guys and they would just try to be cute instead of drafting, an Alabama middle linebacker, a BYU linebacker, an LSU defensive back. I mean, it's like sitting there going, yeah, this makes sense. You draft for need. You draft who's best available on your board. And they said, for example, Taki was the top guy on their board, even though some of the experts said, well, we had a 5th round grade on him or whatever. Brown said, hey, look, he was at the top of our board. So you take him. It sounds so elementary, but we haven't always seen that around here.
Yeah, and the thing about that particular player and why he was looked at in a different kind of light, aside from his problems early in his career at BYU, which were multiple, okay? I mean, to the point where he was dismissed from school, okay? But he came back. He got married. He claims that he married a swimmer, and he said that she told him it's time to grow up, if we're going to do this thing together, and he did, and it really has turned him around. To the football side, there was a point, where he was moved to defensive end, and then they finally moved him back to linebacker. I think some people kept thinking, well, he's a defensive end, and then they put him to linebacker, And he's really a linebacker, okay? And he excels at linebacker. He will not be a defensive end here, okay? He's a linebacker. And, I think that might have been one of the reasons why he kind of got a bad grade on some of these mock drafts.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up a couple of baseball things with you. First and foremost, I loved the interview, and we'll have it online later on at WKYC.com. The interview you did during Donovan Live this evening with the author
Scott Longer.
Scott Longer, who just has a new book out about the Indians pre-World War II, from about 1937, Bob Feller's first full year, to 1941, the last year before World War II. Just in a 4-minute interview, all of a sudden I'm like, boy, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Fascinating stuff about a real interesting time in Indians history when they weren't necessarily competing for the pennant every year, but they weren't the Indians from like 1961 to 94 when they were traditionally almost in last place.
Well, they couldn't beat the Yankees. I mean, they couldn't catch the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees were in the middle of their greatness, okay? But there were some great stories, so if it is up on WKYC.com, and I would urge you to get Scott's book. But, I mean, fascinating things about, drunken players, brawls in the dugout, players going after fans in the stands, the newspaper editor getting hit by a bat in the stands by a thrown bat of a player, maybe not so on the level signing of Bob Feller.
Which is
he told a story that we didn't get on the air, that the Indians were so kind of corrupt at that point that they did a deal that cost Lou Boudreau his amateur standing in college at the University of Illinois. Really interesting stuff. And then, of course, a lot of these guys, Bob Feller, being front and foremost, went off to war and gave up years off of their major league career. I mean, a lot of years, a lot of productive years.
I mean, Bob Feller, if there's no World War II, I mean, I feel like Bob Feller, statistically, he would be so high up on a lot of the strikeouts and the wins and everything, where there wouldn't be much of a debate as to the best pitcher of that era and the best pitcher of all time. I mean, I feel like he would be up there. It's like Ted Williams. I think if Ted Williams hadn't had his prime of his career taken away during World War II, I mean, he would have approached 700 home runs. He would have approached Ty Cobb's hits record. I mean, he had those three plus. In Williams' case, he had 2 more years in Korea taken away.
Absolutely. It's that's a fascinating time. Not just for the Indians, but for baseball. They had huge attendance. People loved baseball. There were no television, of course.
No.
But I mean, people loved baseball, so they went to the ballpark, and they loved these guys. The Indians, he said, were called the Crybabies. They were the Cleveland Crybabies because they were always, in the middle of something. But it was a great time. I could have talked to him, for an hour.
So we'll have more again how to order the book and Jimmy's interview online here later on tonight. It brings me to this question now. Last night, our old friend Karsten Charles Sabathia, CC Sabathia, got his 3,000th strikeout. Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he won a Cy Young, right? He won a World Championship. He was with the Yankees. He's had a long career. I think so. I really do. I think a lot of us around here really feel, we watched him grow up, and there was some growing up. Remember, I mean, CC was very immature. He was very young, first of all, but he was very immature. I mean, he got hooked up with some wrong people. He was involved in a robbery that he was a victim in over at a hotel. Wasn't it the old wasn't it the Marriott?
Was that the Marriott? I remember that.
I think that scared him. I say this scared straight. I mean, it's not that he was really crooked or anything, but I mean, CC was going the wrong way, and that kind of got him in line, and then he really started to come on. The thing that I think that CC, certainly with the Indians, probably would have liked to have been a better postseason pitcher with the Indians. Definitely in that Red Sox series, in the American League Championship Series. He got beaten Game 1. He could have won the pennant.
Could have won the pennant right here
in Game 5, right? Yeah. Against Beckett.
Yeah, and I mean, again, if the Indians had won the pennant that year, sorry, Colorado Rockies, I just don't think they could have. they could have matched the Indians in the World Series. I mean, the Red Sox obliterated them in 4 games.
4 straight. They
Yeah.
blew them out.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember, the Rockies had to wait like 9-10 days.
Yeah. For the
World
series to
Series,
finish, yeah.
and it snowed every day out in Colorado.
Yeah.
So they were practicing like in the snow,
Yeah.
trying to get games, trying to have intra-squad scrimmage games and things like that. And I'll tell you what was really cool about that: the night Sabathia got beat by Beckett here. And remember now, they were ahead in that game. They were ahead for a long period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
They jumped out in front, and then the Red Sox finally got going. But he lost, and it was going back to Fenway. But that night before the game, we were doing the news, and there was great anticipation that they were going to end it that night.
Yeah.
And we had Jack Corrigan live in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, that voice of the Rockies now.
He was the radio voice of the Rockies, and we were saying, hey, we'll be out pretty soon. And we definitely put the cart before the horse. And they were already in the World Series, so they were waiting. And Jack was hoping, naturally, that the Indians would make it and be the opponent of the Rockies in the World Series, but we never saw it.
Never saw it.
Jack got to the World Series, we didn't.
We did that. And it's interesting. The Indians won the pennant in 95 and 97. They were on the road. They won the pennant in 2016.
They were up in Toronto, They've never won the pennant here.
They never.
Well, in the 40s
in
now,
the 40s,
my dad went to the playoff game at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
And they won the
With
pennant that
Gene
day.
Bearden, yeah.
Yeah, Boudreaux hit a home run,
Yeah.
and they won the game, and much to my dad's disdain, they beat the Red Sox.
Deprived you of a Subway series.
They would have played the Boston Braves. That's right. And he was out in the bleachers, and he skipped work that day and sat outside, slept out overnight outside Fenway Park. First come, first served to buy tickets the next morning because the Red Sox won Sunday afternoon. And I think the Indians lost. Okay. Got on a train, I believe, and came to Cleveland, to Boston. To be there for the playoff game. But yeah, they won on the road that time.
Yeah,
so I don't know in '54.
Yeah, and I don't know in '54 when they clinched, because they clinched so early. They were so dominant that year. But it just struck me. It's like all these, they could have won the pennant in 07 here, and they could have won certainly the World Series here in Games 6 and 7. Could have had big celebrations.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
But just one last thought about CeCe, and then we're going to wrap up. He's approaching 250 wins. He's got 247 wins. That puts him in the top 50 all time. And now over 3,000 strikeouts. He's 17th all time. And I think our guy Tyler Carey was telling me 15 of those, or 14 of the 16 guys in front of CeCe are in the Hall of Fame, the exceptions being Kurt Schilling, who will get in the Hall of Fame at some point, and Roger Clemens, who probably won't get to the Hall of Fame, but we obviously know why in the whole steroid thing. So, yeah, I mean, I at first I thought, I'm like, I don't know if CeCe will one Cy Young. I don't know, but I think he will. I think his longevity, amazingly enough, I didn't know how long of a career he had because he used to overthrow and he wouldn't last long in games, but he learned to pace himself.
The other thing, Dino, is that when the Yankees beat the Indians, when the Indians were up 2-0 in that series a couple of years ago, 2017.
Yeah.
CeCe pitched very well.
Yes, he did.
Pitched in Game 5 here in Cleveland,
yes.
and really had the Indians, off kilter.
Yep.
And Gregorius hit the home runs off of Kluber, and they fell behind. And CeCe gave them. That was when they would just say, "CeCe, get us 5 innings.
Yeah, just get us that.
Get us to the bullpen," which he did, and they ended up winning. He pitched well in 2 games in that series against the Indians.
Yeah, it's amazing. He really evolved his career from being a guy that threw like nothing but fastballs.
He should have won. He should have won Game 2. He pitched really well, and the Yankee bullpen blew it when Lindor
hit the grand slam.
Yeah. And then was it Jay Bruce hit
Yeah. Amazing enough. But good for CeCe. Congrats to him, and we'll find out. He's going to retire after this year, so we'll see in 5 years if he gets in.
Dino, when I was in Channel Lakes Park, a long time ago, Mark Shapiro was the minor league director.
Yes.
That's how long ago it was. Okay, so John Hart's the general manager. We were down there, and the Indians were hot and everything. And we always wanted to do who's the rising star in the farm system. I'd do a piece on that. And we went to Mark Shapiro, and he says, "I'm going to get you this kid, His name is CC Sabathia. And I said, oh, great.
Yeah.
And they bring this kid out. He's huge. I mean, CC was
Right.
had not missed a meal. And his mom was waiting for him, because he was so young. I mean, he was really a teenager at that time. And he was shy, but he was huge because there was a football background, I think, in his life.
Yes.
And he could have gone to college, I think, and played football. But he came to the Indians, and I will always remember Mark leading him out of the minor league complex, which was not nice in Winter Haven. The major league complex wasn't nice in Winter Haven,
no.
But the minor league one was Bull Durhamish, okay? And they brings him out, this big kid, and it was just unbelievable to see him.
Talk about there could have been tumbleweeds at that in that minor league part.
There was a gator. There was a gator that used to sun right on the side of the lake. That was right around the ballpark there, Chano Lakes Park.
Channel Lakes. There's something about that place, but I looking back on it, I'm glad the Indians moved to Arizona. I mean, it was probably time. Plus, they have a year-round facility. So
Though, I want to tell you, they were really good then. Okay, they were great, and people set themselves up for a pilgrimage down to Florida.
Yes.
I mean, Winter Haven did well by the Indians during those years because they packed the place.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of a cute ballpark. I mean, it was rustic and, but when it was full, and it was full when they played, it was really pretty.
Oh, because everybody
there were orange groves out in the outfield.
And everybody, you knew this was your one chance. You can see, all those stars of the 90s. You can see Ramirez and Tomey and Bell and Baerga and all the guys. The Indians did well by, for Outback Steak and Beef O'Brady's.
Beef O'Brady's,
and
right.
I'm trying to remember what other restaurants. Those are the two that pop in my mind that were down there.
Yeah. Well, there was a Boston market. That's when we knew Winter Haven had really arrived.
That's right. That's right. You can get your rotisserie chicken. I mean, life is good. Hey, wrapping up. Quick, kind of a toss of the cap. We found out yesterday, I think it was. This show is going to be up for a Press Club Award, Press Club of Cleveland Award. Thank you, all of you out there, for watching and continuing to bring us into your homes and on your phones and on your computers and everything. And we'll find out in June. But that was a very nice for Best Podcast.
All right. Well, that's
very
great.
nice.
Good.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, and we thank you for all watching. We'll be back with you tomorrow. For Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DeNatale. Thanks for watching the Donovan Live postgame show on WKYC's Facebook Live and YouTube. All right.
All right.